What's the secret to designing sustainable packaging?
Keeping packaging as simple as possible allows for better recyclability.
How do you define easy to recycle materials?
We ship out an insane amount of cardboard, plastic ones, twos, but as soon as you go into plastic 3 through 7, it just gets much harder to recycle those types of materials.
They're the experts and they're giving us an inside peek. So if you're ready, I'm ready. So let's jump in. So since we can hear you now at the moment, before you get into the actually loud area, can you give us just a quick rundown of who you are, who you're working with, where you're at, and kind of what you do? We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So my name's Marissa Mikulkevich. I'm the Recycling and Solid Waste Program Coordinator here at Outagamie County Recycling and Solid Waste in Appleton, Wisconsin. We are a part of a tri-county partnership. So it's Brown County, Outagamie County, and Winnebago County in Wisconsin. All of us partnered together in 2009 to start the Tri-County Recycling Facility, which is a MRF in Appleton, Wisconsin. So
All right, stopping this for a second. So they're a MRF, and what a MRF is a materials recovery facility or a materials reclamation facility. And what they do is this is where all of your recycling, your curbside materials go and get delivered. It's their job to sort it out before it actually goes to a recycling center. So that's what they're doing. All right, let's go back to the show. Let's get back to Marissa.
all the curbside recycling from those 3 counties come here. We process approximately 400 tons of material per day, which equates to approximately 100,000 tons of materials per year. And for facilities of our capacity, usually there's a contamination rate of 35 to 40%, which means of those recyclable materials that enter the facility, that percentage of them leaves and goes to the landfill. At our facility, we have a contamination rate of 8%. So it is absolutely remarkable what we're doing, and we'll show you how we get that contamination rate so low. But yeah, so part of my position as the Recycling and Solid Waste Program Coordinator is education and outreach. So recently, I came into this position July 6th, so relatively new. And I have a very different approach to marketing. And I didn't know how well that was going to go in a county position, but I came up with these ideas for characters. The first one was a character we called Filthy Film, because a huge issue with MRFs and recycling facilities is our plastic bags and films and wraps getting stuck in our disc screen separators. And I'll show you that in a little bit, but it just drove me nuts. I'm like, well, why don't people know about this? So we created this character. We started doing all sorts of videos with him and other employees we have. So everyone that shows up in our Facebook, our Instagram, those are actual employees at the facility. So we don't have this marketing department. We always joke that it's the marketing department because my name's Marissa. So we just kind of fill this in whenever we have time because we're all doing our jobs, right? So we started vamping up our Facebook, our Instagram, and then one day my boss, it was only a month ago, she comes in and she's like, we should go on TikTok. I'm like, I don't want to go on TikTok. Like, we don't need to.
Yeah,
She's
just
like,
one
no,
more thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. She's like, no, we need to go on TikTok. I'm like, oh, shoot, okay. And she was right. I mean, TikTok is this huge platform. People are millions, billions of accounts are using TikTok. So we go on there and we start just piecing together the marketing materials we already had to tailor to this demographic of TikTok. And within 3 weeks, we have this video about our holiday lights, starring Filthy Film, and it just took off. And we went viral, which was unreal because recycling facilities don't do that. Yeah, so all we have been receiving both on Facebook and this huge presence on TikTok now is that people just want more. They want more public service announcements. They just want to know how to recycle right. And for us, that's all we want to. We want to teach people what goes in, what goes out, because the better they get at recycling, the cleaner the materials coming in are, and the better we can get those materials back out and repurpose into new materials. And then we can focus on other cool things to divert more material. So that's the spiel about Outagamie County Recycling and Solid Waste. And yeah, I can take you on a tour if you're all ready to check it out.
100%. Let's go. Yeah, absolutely. So you guys, before you head out of the office and we can get hard to hear you, you guys are based in Appleton, Wisconsin. So how much of the material are you actually receiving from the paper mills, right? So Appleton Papers, you guys are right in that, paper valley. How much of that material is industrial?
Yeah, so I actually don't have the full breakdown of that, but we do receive a significant amount of commercial accounts too. Again, I don't know what percentage that is of that 100,000 tons per year, but we receive a
Right.
mixture of both. And it's not just Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago counties. We receive waste from Northeast Wisconsin. It comes from everywhere. So it's a mixture of the curbside recycling and our commercial accounts too. So it's just a big education outreach
Right.
attempt to kind of hit the people at home recycling and then the big businesses, the factories recycling too. So it's a pretty big mix of both.
How are you receiving waste from these facilities that aren't in your vicinity, that are either like Northwest Wisconsin, and they're choosing your particular MRF versus going to somebody that's just local to them? How do they find you? How does that work? How does that business happen?
Yeah, I think it just deals with pricing or they worked with us in the past. Maybe it's just an ease of logistics for them or they're doing a project in the area. It really all just depends on what these suppliers and trucking companies decide to do. But yeah, predominantly we are the Brown, Outagamie, and Winnebago counties and just spreads outward. Yeah.
I also want to make it clear to everybody that recycling is a business, right? You don't show up to work and do this for fun. You're not picking up cans
Yes, it is.
for the enjoyment. That you're actually trying to make money. So how do you decide what doesn't get recycled?
Sure. So, like you said, we are a business, and a big thing to clarify too is that we do not function off of taxpayer dollars. So we are a self-funded entity. So our commodity sales are a big portion of our revenue. So that's where we get a little picky with the materials we accept. Because if we don't have buyers for the materials, then obviously we can't efficiently recycle them. So your common ones, your OCC, which is your cardboard, mixed paper, newspaper, we ship that out nonstop because we are in the paper valley. If you don't know what that is, Appleton area, we have a lot of paper mills. It's kind of what our history is known for. So we ship it very locally, like within 5 miles sometimes. So we recycle a lot of OCC.
No, no, no.
So another term you've just heard you might not be familiar with is OCC. Now, OCC is old corrugated containers. Basically, that covers all of the cardboard boxes that you're receiving, all your Amazon boxes, all those brown corrugated boxes. That's referred to as OCC. So if you're buying new cardboard boxes and it says it contains X amount of recycled waste, it's probably OCC. Okay, let's get back to Marissa.
And then what we like to call easy to recycle plastics versus your not easy ones. So that's your plastics 1 and 2. So PET and HDPE, which are your water bottles, your laundry detergent bottles, shampoo bottles. Those are easy for us. And then the harder ones, we used to be able to recycle plastics 3 through 7 in mixed bales. We had buyers for that, but then in approximately 2018, when China imposed their ban on imported plastics, that made it very difficult for us to find buyers for these products. So we had to stop recycling efficiently 3 through 7 plastics, which is those are your Taco Bell cups, your takeout containers. So that makes it tricky. So those are hard to recycle plastics. So and then other than that, we recycle tin, steel, aluminum's a huge market for us. So we cover a broad base, but then it just gets to be that nitpicky plastic stuff. So
All
you
right, so
ready?
let's go. I want to see this.
We'll just throw on some PPE really quick. I call this my hard hat hairdo because of tie bun, and that's the best way to do it. All right, so I'm gonna flip you around, and you can see.
Right. So as Marissa goes through the office and gets to the actual center, I want to tell you, it's going to get really loud because they're not turning down the volume on these machines just for us. So it's going to be really loud. What I'm going to do is anything that doesn't sound clear, I'm going to go ahead and repeat it. Marissa is the one that knows all about this equipment. I am just passing the information along to you. All right, here she goes.
So this is a tip board. Right now we are packed with materials.
So you can see this is where everything comes into. The trucks come in, they just dump it there. There's no sorting happening. It just dumps out onto the floor. That's where the trucks tip and slide all the trash out. Essentially, the name is the tip floor.
Actually, a truck from either Winnebago or Brown County, and this is where all the trucks come in and dump materials. We get approximately 400 tons per day, which is 100,000 tons per year. And as you can see, it's a lot of material. So then as load operator, and he or she, but only he is here for that. They load material into a metering bin, which tracks how much material we get a day.
So as you can see here, this is the load operator. They're going to scrape all of that trash and they're going to lift it up and put it into the bin, the metering bin, and that's going to measure how much they're actually collecting.
And then it'll go up the metering bin, up this conveyor belt, and this room right here is our pre-sort room. It's our first line of defense, and it's so loud right now. Holy!
It goes through the metering bin to measure it out, and it goes up the conveyor belt, which takes it up into the pre-sort room.
So anyway, it's our first line of defense for anything entering the facility. So this is where, as you can see, there are little conveyors under here, and I'll show you how to drop it out. But there's little trap doors, and this is where the crew is advised to pull out anything in plastic bags. So at our facility, and this is where we always tell people, check your local facility because it differs. But at ours, anything in plastic bags or plastic film gets pulled off the line immediately because it tangles up our equipment so badly. I'll talk about that later, but yeah, so plastic bags get pulled off. Oversized pieces of plastic, so like 5-gallon buckets, kitty litter buckets. So that's what we call rigid plastic. Scrap metal gets dumped. So we're gonna head up to the pre-sort room now. We're going in the pre-sort room right here. And as I mentioned, this is our first line of defense. So usually we have 4 individuals working in here. And their job is to pull off anything that just should not go into the recycling facility. So oversized pieces of plastic films, scrap metal. And these 2 individuals, their job is to pull off any bag recycling. So our belt goes really quickly. And these guys just pull stuff off all the time. So yep, holding, plastic film. And that's why when people are like, well, why can't I put my recycling in plastic bags? Well, it's because our belt goes so quickly that if these guys took the time to rip apart every plastic bag, it would be a full-time job. Like it would not work. So they're just advised anything in plastic, pull right off. So, yep, just like that. Even if you're recycling perfectly right, when you put it in a plastic bag, here it goes right to the landfill. All that effort's not worth it. So that's a crazy reality. Yeah, this is our pre-sort room. All right, so once you leave the pre-sort room.
So what gets taken out of the pre-sort room is going to be your anything in a plastic bag. So if you've got a plastic grocery bag and you filled it up with aluminum cans and put it in your recycle bin, they're not going to take the time to untie that, open it up and separate it. They're just grabbing the entire bag and they're throwing it down the chute and it's going into these areas that are sorted out. Potentially they may sort it out later, but you never know. And then they also take rigid plastics. So like the rigid plastics, this is going to be your detergents, your large containers. Those go in there, and then from that point, they're already sorted out, so they can collect those and bail that up.
Once you leave the pre-sort room, they enter a line of disc screen separators. When we posted videos on TikTok about this, people thought, oh my gosh, they're shredders. That's not true. Not everything, just the garbage. So when they go in the bin, if it's rigid plastic, we sell those. So we'll just dump it in the baler. Scrap metal, we recycle. Basically, everything we recycle except the plastic films that we pull off. So yeah, it's just making sure our equipment stays safe in there. All right, so yeah, people think these are shredders. They're not shredders, they're separators. And I'm going to zoom in. Oh yeah. So these disc screens, this is our OCC separator. So anything, it's sorting for cardboard. So as you can see, 2-dimensional objects like your cardboard rides on top. And anything that's 3-dimensional falls through those little dividers. So all of our disc screen separators got fit up like 1,000 times fast. Anything, those discs get shortened. So depending on the gap between the disc and the shaft, it's programmed for certain types of material. So the first one's to sort cardboard. And then once they go through the screen, the cardboard goes down there. And it falls on that belt. And then it goes into one of the 3 hoppers. So That one's for newspaper, that's mixed paper, and that's cardboard. So, yeah, fascinating. But this is the first disc screen it goes to from the pre-sort room. So, we'll go check out the other one. This is not meant for tall people. I'm 6 feet tall, and I would knock myself out if I did stuff under there. Yeah, so a disc screen. I'll get a good shot of this. So these big green machines, we have 4 of them, and they're called disc screen separators. And the reason they're called disc screens is because, can't see it down there, is because they have the rotating discs in them, and that's what allows us to separate our materials. So these are all, the discs are set to different dimensions to allow different types of materials to go through. So these are the widest discs, and they separate our cardboard. And then once it falls through here, anything that's like paper, your cartons, your plastic bottles, it goes to new sort 1. And in new sort 1, it's looking for your newspapers, anything papery, and anything that's not, it falls through and it goes on another belt. And then it keeps going because we have 4. So once it goes to new sort 1, we go to new sort 2. And now it's looking for even finer pieces of paper. And anything that's not falls through. You can kind of see a angle. Oh, let me read your comment. Yes, so in a lot of our videos, here, I can zoom in right here. This is perfect. So what we call like plastic films, metal wires, cables, anything that's just long and stringy, garden hoses are a horrible issue for us too. They get tangled around our disc screens, and our crew actually during shutdown, we shut down twice a day. They have to lock out and take out these machines. They physically go in them, and they have to cut out all the material that gets stuck. And there's a lot of material. So what happens is this plastic film gets wrapped around these disc screens and makes it harder for materials to fall through, like your three-dimensional objects. It kind of shortens the gaps between the discs, so it doesn't recycle efficiently. So that's why we tell people that keeping your plastic films, anything tangly out of your recycling cart, just makes us able to recycle these materials more efficiently. So yeah, these are our 4 disc screens. And then anything that's super fine, so anything under 3 inches, falls all the way down. I can't see the belt under there. But underneath this walkway is a giant belt. And what happens, this is where I kind of lose connection, so I'm not going to go up there. But this is our fine separator. And anything under 3 inches that falls through, like glass, straws, shredded paper, just things that are too small, medicine bottles, they fall through in here, and we separate it into what we call dirty and clean glass. So glass in our facility actually does not get turned into new glass. Dirty glass gets sent to our landfill for what we call ABC, which is alternative daily cover. So we beneficially reuse it. And then our clean glass we sell to a sandblasting company. So at least we beneficially reuse it, but our glass here does not get turned into new glass. So that's a kind of fun fact. All right, so this screen is called our polishing screen. It's where all the containers go. So your aluminum cans, your bottles, they all go up through here. And we'll go to the container sort line later because right now we're going to go to the paper sorting. And this is anything that comes off of new sort 1 and new sort 2. And what people don't understand, or what they need to understand, is that even though we have all this equipment that sorts materials, we still are a very human-driven process. So this is new sort 2. So as you can see, these individuals are looking to pull out cardboard, containers, because even though the disc screens do a great job separating materials, it's still like she has a big thing of film in her hand. So you see a lot of paper in here, which is good, small pieces of cardboard, but you still get the film that goes in there, or sometimes flattened bottles get through there. So our individuals have to go and make sure we pull all this out, because this ends up in our bales after this. That's where everything goes. They land in our hopper. So this type of material will go into our mixed paper bales, which contaminates the bale for our buyers. So it's very important to have these hand sorters here. because they're another line of defense for us to make sure this material gets as clean as possible. So this is another line, and they all go into our hoppers. So yeah, there's usually more people, but the holidays are making us a little short. So I'm gonna go throw this away. So if a bale's contaminated at a MRF, our buyers know that a lot of our materials are post-consumer. So our buyers know that there will be contamination in each bale, but they just set certain percentages that they allow for contamination. So as long as we don't surpass those levels, our bales are fine. But if we do have super contaminated bales, then they reject them. But overall, they know at a MRF that they're going to get contamination. So it's just, they set a separate level for it. So yeah, this is paper. And now something happened that they shut the machines down. And like I mentioned before, cardboard comes off here, goes down here, and under here. So that's what our baler's baling right now. Hi, Dave. That's our maintenance man, Dave. So yeah, we have two balers. One is for paper, which is this one we're looking at. So right now we are doing OCC, and it comes out of the hopper and up these bales. So that one's predominantly for mixed paper, newspaper, and cardboard. And then our other baler on the other side are for containers. So we're gonna go check out the container line now. Do a little backtrack action. Oh, another thing, these bins are for medical waste and sharps. Sharps and medical waste are a huge contamination issue for our facility. Obviously those do not go in your, not obviously, I should not say that. Sharps and medications, anything medical do not belong in recycling carts. We have special drop-offs at local grocery stores, the police departments, that allow for proper recycling of those. So yeah, those red bins were for picking them off the line if we find them.
Okay, so I asked her, what do you do with paper that's laminated with plastic film? Now, their goal is to catch all of that and pull it out because it doesn't recycle very well. You know, you've got paper and plastic bonded together, but anything that does get through, again, they've got a percentage that's allowable of contamination. So they're expecting that when it gets through, that gets recycled as mixed paper. Can't tell you what it's going to come back as because everybody does something different with it. It can come back as a piece of drywall. It can come back as so many different products, not necessarily paper. So again, making sure that you're putting in what belongs in your recycle bin is like the most critical thing you could do. She also said, just to reiterate, no sharps, so no needles, no medical patches, no bottles of pills, none of that stuff. All your medical waste should be taken to your local drugstore or whatever program they've got near you. But don't put that in your recycle bin because these people here can potentially get hurt because of what you're putting in here.
Container sort line, as you can see, it's a lot of bottles, a lot of cans, milk jugs, and it starts by 2 hand sorters. Lots going on here. So these guys are sorting, pulling off big pieces of scrap metal, electronics. We have drop-offs for scrap metal and electronics on our site. Obviously, we do not want to paperwork today, obviously, but we do not want to see those in recycling carts. All right, so this is our overbelt magnet. Metals are separated into 2 categories. It's our ferrous and non-ferrous. Ferrous metals are anything that are magnetic, so steel products, tin, they go through here. I can probably get a good shot of the metals going up. I'm going to share space with you really quick. Yeah, you can see it getting sucked up by that magnet. Super cool.
So they've got this huge magnet that's spinning around as the conveyor belt goes underneath, and anything that's attracted to the magnets is going to get lifted up and thrown into another section, which is another conveyor belt. All these conveyor belts move and take things to a specific location for separation. It's pretty amazing stuff that's happening here.
And then this is our container, short for HDPE. So you'll see color is 1. HDPE is plastic number 2. So you know, like your laundry detergent bottles, and then natural are like your milk jugs. These guys just have our past cans. They go through, they're pulling stuff off, throwing it against this wall, trying to keep things separate. So that's a fun game. They have a lot of fun. There's a lot of good vibes up in container sort. So once it leaves this line, it goes down to our eddy current machine, and down there is our optical sorter. So in May of this year, we actually swapped these 2 pieces of equipment and upgraded them.
Marissa is an expert and she deals in this every day. I am absolutely not, but I'm fascinated by this machine. Essentially, this machine is applying current to non-ferrous metals. So like your aluminum cans, and aluminum cans are not magnetic, but it's making them, it's giving them enough of a charge that they're repelled by that current at the end of this conveyor. And what happens is your aluminum can now shoots further away because it's actually being repelled versus everything else that is just coming down. So anything that's coming down is going to be like your plastic bottles, like your little tetracycle juice boxes. Anything that's not aluminum is going to drop, and there's a wall there, and that then sends it to a different conveyor belt. All aluminum is going to get shot over and separated into a different conveyor belt. So there's just so much technology that's happening here. Again, people think, oh, well, it's an optical sorter. It'll just take care of everything. It doesn't take care of everything, but man, it does an amazing job at what it does.
But basically, as I mentioned, it's for non-ferrous metal separation. And what happens is in these machines, when electronically conducted materials are introduced into a rapidly changing magnetic field, they have what's called eddy currents, and they're circulating currents. And due to them, the magnetic field is produced in the particles in the can and this machine. And what happens is it creates like a repulsion effect. And that repulsion, I'm going to zoom in here, but it forces them to like jump over that metal divider. So anything non-ferrous goes over, and then anything that's not, like your water bottles, anything basically that's not a non-ferrous metal falls down here onto another belt. So very cool, assists with our separation of aluminum cans. So that is our eddy current machine. And then this woman down here, her job is to pull off anything that's not an aluminum can. Our optical sorter is used to separate PET plastic, so plastic number 1. And when it falls off the eddy current belt, it goes on here. And then, show you this. So you'll see that little beam of light down there. So this machine works by, again, detecting wavelengths. So it has sensors and this wave of light. And when all these materials go over it, this machine can determine whether or not it's PET plastic. So if it registers, wow, that was epic. So this machine registers the material as PET. You'll hear that little puff of air. And what it does is it shoots a puff of air up at the materials, and it shoots it over that divider. And I have a promo video of this on our TikTok and social media, so it's really cool to see. But yeah, so this has also significantly increased our diversion of number 1 plastics, with the like water bottles and soda bottles. So very cool piece of equipment, and that just helps us keep our contamination down. And this man, we call him Hollywood. I guess this is kind of a goofy part too, because this is technically the end. It's our residual discharge line. And what that means is just a fancy word for it goes in the landfill. So this is where our contamination rate of 8% shows. So this is our last chance belt. So these guys, what they're trying to do is pull off anything that we can recycle that's not missed. This is a perfect spot to explain what we don't want. So water bottles need to be emptied of materials, and I'll explain that in the optical sorter too. But what happens is our equipment thinks this is a different material because of the weight, but also because when the optical sorter uses wavelength, so it tries to detect what material this is by shooting light to it, and if there's dark liquid in it, it thinks it's a different material. So we always tell people to empty out their containers, rinse them out, put the cap back on, and then it can be recycled properly, but this one cannot. So again, things under 3 inches ends up in residual discharge. What's another good example? Peanut butter containers or plastic jars that aren't rinsed out enough.
She just said peanut butter containers. Peanut butter containers end up going to the landfill. I've never thought of that. I wipe it out, I scrape out as much as I can, and I put it in there. And when they tell you to rinse out your recyclables, this is why. Because the peanut butter container, all that material that's left on the inside edge of the wall, when they try to shoot light through it to tell what type of plastic it is, it just bounces back because all that peanut butter coating on the inside. So be smart, start washing it. Don't be like me, but I'm going to start washing my peanut butter containers moving forward. Now I know.
Again, liquid, that's a no-go. We
So after all of that sorting that's happened, after the corrugated board, after the newspaper, the plastic bottles, aluminum cans, the electronic equipment, the sharps, the medical devices, after all that stuff is sorted out, this last conveyor, this is what's going to landfill. So you can see from the tip floor how much came in and how much is actually going to landfill. So the recycling center is doing an amazing job of reducing what goes to landfill, but you can see how much material is actually going to the landfill from what we're putting into our recycling bins. So we just got to be smart about what we're putting on our recycling bins, make their job easier, have less material go to the landfill. All right, so we're back from that. Thank you so much for that tour. That tour was amazing, but let's get to the beginning. Let's kind of recap from that tip room. That's where everything comes in, everything's dumped, but no sorting really happens there, right? Like nobody's picking through it. It's just dumped, scooped, and placed in the metering bin. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. So that's why, like you said, things just come and get dumped on the tip floor. We don't do anything with that. Our loaders, though, they do, like if they see a battery, which are horrible because they can explode and it's detrimental. So if they catch anything big, like big tarps, or you'd be amazed how many appliances come into like in commercial dumpsters. So if they see big stuff, like I guess that's our first sorting. So they'll pull those off to the side and then they load in the metering bin, goes up that conveyor belt into our pre-sort room. Pre-sort hand sorts anything big that could just damage our equipment, or really just damage, right? So they're pulling off scrap metal that should be dropped off instead. Yeah. Rigid plastic, so laundry baskets, 5-gallon buckets, those get pulled off too. We have a collection here for that as well. Big pieces, anything plastic film related gets pulled off. That goes in the landfill, unfortunately. And what am I missing? But yeah, just bigger pieces of materials. And then it goes to the OCC separator and the disc screen. And that does a lot of the two-dimensional cardboard, gets that out of the way. And then things just keep falling down through the discs as the discs get more narrow. So
at the very end, we saw them manually separating all the things off the conveyor belt, trying to keep them from going to landfill. And we were seeing them pulling off flattened bottles. We shouldn't be flattening bottles, shouldn't be flattening cans, keep it in its three-dimensional shape.
Yeah, and it's crazy how much varies per facility, because even like sometimes, let me give a perfect example. There is a county to the southeast of us, like border, and sometimes our material comes here, sometimes it doesn't. And at their facility, I was going through their website, and even though we're borderline counties, I almost said countries, counties, they'll be like, oh my gosh, this Wisconsin girl. But even though it's a bordering county, we're that close. At their facility, they actually want people to take off the caps on their plastic bottles and flatten them, whereas we want the opposite because it works with our equipment better. So that's why we always advise people, like, check your local facility, because it can differ significantly. But yeah, for us, we tell our residents to not flatten their bottles, because then our disc screens, that is the hardest statement, they treat it more as a two-dimensional object when you flatten it, so it gets mixed in with your cardboard, your paper, whereas if you leave it three-dimensional, it falls all the way through and has a higher likelihood of being on a container belt. So it just, everything increases the efficiency of our recycling if we leave them in their original form. So yeah, that's why we tell people not to flatten aluminum cans or any plastic jugs, cartons, anything like that.
Yeah, I just remember as a kid, you would take the cans and you would just crush them because you could fit more of those in a container and then to be recycled. But you're saying keep the cans in the original three-dimensional shape.
Yep, I've crushed a lot of dreams.
So when we were looking at the bales of plastic, you had like the white plastics, and then you had the natural colored plastics, and then you had the colored plastics.
Yeah.
Is there a pricing structure around that? Does the colored plastic fetch a lower price when you sell that?
Let me see if I have that. The answer is yes. One is valued higher. I need to remember which one it is. I have notes everywhere. Natural has a higher market, just because there's less, obviously, that goes into the natural plastics. So let me see if I have the prices somewhere though. Which, no, I don't. But I know natural's more desirable just because there's less dye, and it's all relatively the same. Whereas our mixed color HDPE bales, you have reds, yellows, blues, this, that, the other. So yeah, so natural plastic is the more bread and butter for us.
Yeah. So then if you're a packaging designer then and you're creating plastic packaging, then you should really want to use either whites or
Yeah.
natural
Sure.
plastics. And that's because it's going to be recycled. There's a higher chance of it being recycled versus doing these custom colors.
Yeah, and a big thing too is, I mentioned it kind of in the tour, but trying to stick to one type of material. I know that's hard because we see a lot. I mean, I could pull off 5 things on my desk right now that are like 1 parts of 5 plastic, the other's plastic 1, you know? And unfortunately, you hope people separate them, but they don't, you know? So just keeping packaging as simple as possible allows for better recyclability, and using the materials that we know have higher buyers. So like I said, we ship out an insane amount of cardboard, plastic 1s, 2s, but as soon as you go into plastic 3 through 7, it gets really challenging. And I know this is a nationwide thing too. It just gets much harder to recycle those types of materials. And unfortunately, if you look at a lot of toys and really anything made out of plastic, it's typically plastic number 5, I've noticed. And we're working on a grant right now just to add additional equipment to sort solely plastic number 5. But like I said, we're just not there yet. Not that we're not trying, but yeah, for any packaging designers, the more simple you can make it, it's a challenge, and it's something that we'll have to adapt to just to make sure, you know, at the end of the product's life cycle, like this is where it goes. There's no magic behind the scenes. Like it is people sorting it, going through it, equipment, machineries. So that's a term, if you've never heard of wish cycling. Like people want so badly to recycle, and so do I. Obviously, I'm the biggest eco geek, like I just am. But at the end of the day, the wish cycling almost makes it worse. So like the people who throw in the garden hoses, like I wish, like they'll sort it through, they'll do it. It's
some type of plastic, right? You guys can figure it out.
Yeah, like good luck, like have fun, like someone will do it. And before I worked here, like I was kind of the same way, right? Like you just want so badly, like yeah, someone else will do it. But no, it's like it causes a lot of issues. Like it'll jam up a machine. If you throw an electronic, like it can explode. And I've seen it actually. Like this is a battery they put on my desk that exploded. Like it happens and people deal with it, and it's a safety hazard. So for us, like educating about the wish cycle, like it's just not recyclable right now. And then everyone gets mad. They're like, well, why not? I'm like, well, it has to go further back. It's the people who make them, right? But you're buying them. So it's just a big cycle. But at the end of the day, for the people making the packaging, knowing where it goes after the life cycle of the product and designing for that is, I personally think, what it has to turn into eventually. Because if you know how it gets disposed of, you can be more responsible with how you design it. So it's a fun challenge, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned glass also, right? You guys recycle it, but you're crushing it down and it doesn't come back as glass. So you're turning it into a different product, right? So it's not that thing that we have in mind when we see the Chasing Arrows logo, that it's almost circular. It's really more like linear. It's going somewhere and never coming back.
Yeah, and that's just kind of a downside of single stream recycling, because when you saw the tip floor, like it just gets dumped on a floor. So you have a glass bottle, like they'll shatter. It happens. And as you load in machines, like they just break. So at a single stream facility where everything comes in like ours, as it goes through the process, it most likely does not retain its glass form. So even though we're not recycling it into new glass, we are repurposing it. So the clean glass, so as I can provide you with pictures because I took them, and there's a significant difference, but clean glass, at least we can sell to a sandblasting company so they can repurpose it, which is great. And then the other glass that's mixed with your plastic straws, your bottle caps that aren't left on, really anything under 3 inches, it's dirty glass. And then we use it as alternative daily cover. So we use it in the landfill to abide by guidelines set there. So rather than having to buy cover for that, we can repurpose something that comes out of the MRF. So even though we don't recycle glass, we're beneficially reusing it. So
So as a business, who sets the price on what each of those bales costs?
Predominantly the buyers set the price, and it changes daily sometimes. Like especially during COVID, it was a roller coaster ride. Like some days, PET plastic number one was through the roof. Then a week later, no one wanted it, right? So it is predominantly set by the buyers. But if it is something high in demand, then we kind of get to take that control back, if that makes sense. So if it's something, because we are a very reliable source of material, like I said, we process 400 tons a day. So we'll constantly keep getting these materials. So with buyers, when they need something desperately and we have how many to choose from, then it falls into our court. But it all depends. And that's what our directors work on, and our scale operators. So it's a daily conversation. But it's a fascinating industry. You never think waste, right? But no, it's fascinating.
Absolutely. As we start wrapping up, you're talking about there was a point in time where nobody wanted PET, but if you've got that material in-house, can you store it until there's demand for that product again, or are you limited on how much you can actually store?
Yeah, so for us, we do have a limited amount of space. So we'll store it wherever we can. As you saw in the MRF, like we stash it in different areas of that. I know we're discussing an expansion for bale storage specifically. So if, like we just mentioned, if the markets take a dive, we'll have more flexibility to store these materials till it comes back. But right now we do have a limited amount of space. And in time we'll have more to store, but that's why when we were discussing plastics 3 through 7, when we couldn't generate enough to keep up sometimes, it didn't become a viable option because we did not have that opportunity to store bales till we made enough. So
yeah, so in that case, then all that material was going straight to landfill.
You bet.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So a lot of factors go into the recycling side of the industry, but yeah, for us, we have a decent amount of storage, working on expanding, but we are limited in what we can store long term.
So if we want to design packaging that's recyclable, what are the materials that we should really focus on using?
Yeah, top materials. It wouldn't be financially feasible, I would say, but you would love to see aluminum be a higher contender because that is something that's very easy for us to recycle. But after that, and you say in the plastics realm, PET would be a good one. So plastic number 1, natural plastic, HDPE, so plastic number 2, and then after that, probably colored HDPE. Otherwise, cardboard's great too, as long as you don't layer it with how many other materials. But
sure.
Yeah, I would say those are the most easily recyclable materials for us.
Marissa, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time. So for our listeners and viewers that maybe want to reach out to you and learn more about this, what's the best place for them to contact you?
Sure.
And what's your TikTok, of course?
What's our TikTok? That's the pressing question. The best place to learn what we do right now would be to go to our website, recyclemoreoutagamie.org. We are still working on updating that. That's my job too, so it's fun. But that's where a lot of our content is. For the more fun stuff, our Facebook is a good spot for that. So our handle is at Outagamie County Recycling. So Facebook's fun. It's more longer content, and then and more daily updates. And then the infamous TikTok that took the nation by storm. Just kidding. But our handle is at OC Recycling Solid Waste, and it's predominantly that short content of good, humorous education material. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Our website, our Facebook, and our TikTok. There you go.
Thank you so much, Marissa. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
No problem.
Giving us the tour inside. That was completely amazing.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. This is a great opportunity.